Hi there, welcome back. It's UK here with a video response to Dawnforge Cast's vid about point buy versus rolling dice for stats in RPGs. In addition to Dawnforged's video, also check out the responses from The Outsider and Robert J. Fremantle, two other vids I've seen in response to this, as they've got some pretty good opinions as well. My point of view, or my opinion on this, is that I hate point buy systems. I hate them. Rargh. Every video I do, that bloody phone goes off. Where was I? Oh yes. I hate them. There are a couple of reasons. One, I have had a number of players, and I'm not going to say this is everybody out there in roleplay land, but I have a number of players in my time who, with point buy games, if their character dies, they simply rub out the excess equipment and money, rub out the name, write a new name in, and just carry on. And it's like, it's taken you no imagination, it's taken you nothing to cover the character, you just can't be bothered. It's laziness. Whereas I find when you roll for a set of stats, you come up with a much more rounded character. Because let's be fair, there's two things that happen. In point buy games, you get a bunch of bizarre superheroes. You know, fighter types suddenly become huge, muscular, and high constitution, but really, really dumb and negative charisma. The rogue is incredibly weak, but suitably nimble with a strong intellect and possibly a high charisma. And your wizard is anorexic, like a wafer thin mint, and he's can't even lift his spell component pouch, but he's got a brain, stolen from some kind of super genius. And it's like, you're not realistic. You and I sitting here are not the same. We're not built on the same system, same points buy. The guy outside walking his dog isn't built, we haven't got the same points spent on us. We've all rolled our stats. Now, you roll your stats, that was a rather interesting analogy, wasn't it? You roll your stats, you end up with a mixture of numbers. You create a much more realistic character. And even though we're playing in games that are fantastical, with spaceships or monsters and spells, flying carpets, giant talking rabbits, whatever, there's a sense of realism that I find you must have. When you have these super strong and incredibly dumb and not very charismatic fighters, that destroys part of that realism for me, and points buy does that. Whereas rolling a set of stats, you've got to come up with something with the numbers you've rolled. And I'll give you an example. Way back when I first started my current on and off Call of Cthulhu campaign, and I don't know that you can point buy Cthulhu because some of the stats require different rolls and so forth, but one of the players wanted to play a lawyer, and he had this idea that he could be a good investigator, and he could be someone who could cut through the bureaucratic red tape, deal with the police, deal with getting hold of files that you couldn't normally get hold of, and dealing with certain people on a higher sort of like social echelon. But he rolled the absolute minimum for his size stat, which is his size, and basically we had a laugh and said, well, you're a midget. So he decided, yeah, that'll be cool, I'll play a midget. And he had a really high POW score, which is determines your starting sanity. It basically is your magical potential and kind of your force of personality. So you had this midget who nobody laughed at in the courtroom because he had that force, that gaze, that whatever in his voice, that people took him seriously, and it was a fantastic character concept. And unfortunately, the character died about 3 or 4 sessions into the campaign, or scenarios into the campaign. But by rolling, I'm loath to say an inadequate stat, but by rolling an inadequate stat, he had come up with a far more interesting character than he first perceived. And I think that's what you get when you roll for stats. You come up with a much more rounded character than you do by a point buy system. So that's my thoughts on the topic. Pretty much Point Buy has its place, and if it works for your games, then fantastic. My experiences have been a little less than positive, I think. But, you know, that's the way of things. Not everyone's going to agree on the same thing, which is what makes our hobby so interesting. Anyway, thank you very much for the initial vid, Mr. Dawnforged, and I look forward to hearing anyone else's points of view or opinions. So until next time, take care and good gaming.